The first murder in the Bible didn't just kill a man. It silenced a truth the world wasn't ready for. And that truth didn't disappear. It waited. Let's face it, Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, one of the most difficult books of the Torah, of the Tanakh, to get through. Painful book. It's apparently written by King Solomon, the wisest man who ever walked this earth, yet the wisdom in it is cynical. It can't even be considered wisdom. It's cynical, it's life-defeating, it's depressing. If you ever try to read through it, you probably wouldn't make it until halfway without feeling like utterly depressed. So the question is why is it there? Why is it in the Torah as part of our holy books? Interestingly enough, the Talmud records a discussion of the rabbis whether it should even be included as a holy book. Kohelet is a series, it's 12 chapters made of Solomon's observations on life and includes a lot of the paradoxes to living, like why bother? And a generation comes and a generation goes. Why bother? When one generation attains maturity and wisdom and gets it, that generation goes only to be recycled by a new generation that's clueless. So where's the progress in it all? So Solomon is removing himself from society. He's making observations. He's raising questions. But the truth of it all, where he lands, is the depressing part. All of life is vanity. It's all meaningless. It's chasing after wind. All that you pursue in life, you don't take with you when you die, right? Even too much righteousness is toxic. Too much money, the excess of wealth, won't make you a happier person. It'll invite more problems. And all he's doing is kvetching, complaining for 12 chapters. Whereas at the very end of the book, he says he finally lands on one idea, one verse, and that is that all mankind, he doesn't say Jews, he says all of mankind needs to come to the conclusion that the only thing that life is worth living for is Yirat Shamayim, the fear of heaven, and his commandments, the lifestyle that God has commanded us to do. And if we do these, we're in a good place, because otherwise life is meaningless. 12 chapters just to say this idea. For 12 chapters, he spends all that time justifying that thesis, which comes at the end. So what I want to do is the following. I believe that because it's a wisdom text and because it's written by one of the wisest men in the world, there's much more depth to it than we're willing to consider. But you have to have the right tools. Solomon isn't going to spoon feed you all the answers. He's going to present the riddles and the paradoxes and in a shocking way. But we have to have the right eyes to see. So some of those tools, in fact, not some of them, all of them, are given in the very beginning of the text. And that's what we're going to be looking at. I'm going to present to you tools to unlock these paradoxes of living. And that's the focus today. Opening verse, vanity of vanities, says Koheleth. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. So we can see already that we're going to be clueless unless we understand exactly what he means by vanity. The Hebrew word is Hevel, and we need to understand what Hevel means. The very first place the word Hevel appears in the Torah is in Genesis. It appears at the moment Cain decides to kill his brother Abel. In Hebrew, Abel's name is Hevel. And that's not a translation. That's the original word itself. This is the first time Hevel ever enters the biblical record. And we're going to come back to this because this point is far more important than it seems. For now, we're going to go back to Ecclesiastes, back to Kohelet, and look at all the different ways the word Hevel has been traditionally translated into English. And we're going to look at which versions are correct and which are incorrect and why. So we have vanity, which means emptiness. We have meaningless, no meaning at all. Futility, that's frustrated effort. Vapor, which means breath or mist. Fleeting, which just means passing, impermanent. And absurd, irrational existence. All of these have been used in English translations. Which one is the most accurate? Vapor and fleeting. Vapor means breath, mist, exhale. All of these things are ungraspable. You cannot contain them or own them. Fleeting means passing and impermanent. With the help of the Hasidic masters, we can understand this conceptually. A Hasidic reading of Kohelet understands Hevel not as meaninglessness, but as reality that cannot be possessed. Take a moment and hold in your breath for as long as you can. And what you'll notice is that it's not holdable. It's not holdable because it wasn't meant to be. That's Hevel. Hevel is that which cannot be contained. So the interesting thing about vapor or about Hevel is that it's real. It's present. It's vital to life. Without it, there is no life. However, it is impossible to hold. One of the reasons you can't hold or contain it is because everything in life moves in cycles. It's in perpetual movement, as Kohelet describes here. With human beings, one generation goes and another generation comes. Then with the sun rises and sets, hastens back to the place where it rises. That implies a return, making a complete cycle. And now we go to the wind. The wind goes toward the south and turns towards the north. Round and round it goes, and the wind returns on its circuits. All the rivers flow to the sea, yet the sea is not full. To the place where the rivers flow, there they flow again, implying a return, a full cycle. So this idea of things being in constant motion and flux and cycles is also echoed in the famous verse from Ecclesiastes that there's a time and a season and a purpose for everything under heaven. So King Solomon noticed that you're either in flow with Hevel, with vapor, with spirit, with the movement of breath, or you're resisting it. And when you're resisting change, when you're resisting flow, that concludes into suffering. That is what leads to suffering. But let's talk about the idea, this tension between the human being wanting everything to be fixed and frozen and captured, and when the human being has to accept growth and change. There is an inherent dynamic tension between these two states of being. Where in the Torah does it describe this very tension that is inherent within every human being? And for that we have to go to one of the first stories in the Bible. It's actually the second. After Adam and Eve in the garden was Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel are two very different archetypes. Cain is the farmer, Abel is the shepherd. Farmers stay stationary, whereas shepherds are in constant movement. Farmers are looking for permanency, whereas shepherds are just looking for greener pastures and are willing to move and adapt and adjust as necessary. These two worldviews represent the tension inherent within man. And they also represent two different philosophies of life or wisdoms. There is the wisdom of the resident, the permanent resident, which does not invite change, is looking for more predictability, because as long as things are predictable, I can control it more. Whereas shepherds have more of a nomadic type spirituality, where they expect change and are willing to adapt to it. They're more fluid. Interestingly enough, these two people in the Bible have Hebrew names that describe exactly what's going on. The Hebrew name for Cain is Cain. Cain means to acquire, to possess, to own, to control. Abel, what's Abel's Hebrew name? Hevel. Exactly. It's the same Hebrew word King Solomon chooses to describe non-permanency, meaning mobility, change, motion, adaptability. The thing is that these two worldviews are not compatible with each other, and so one tries to dominate. And one, the Bible tells us, the Torah tells us that one destroyed or killed the other. Yet now we have a book of wisdom called Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, where in a Cain-dominated world, Solomon is noticing something missing. Something is not adding up. Because why? Because it's missing the philosophy of the shepherd, the philosophy of Hevel. And that's why while Solomon is asking the questions, the answer is hidden right there within the question. When he's pointing out the paradoxes and riddles of everyday existence, he poses these unanswered questions. But when he says all is futile, all is meaningless, all is empty, this is a result of Cain having killed Abel. This is a result of a Cain-dominated world.
The Torah itself shows us that Cain responds to loss by building. After Abel's death, he builds the first city and names it after his son, choosing endurance and legacy as his way to deal with the fleeting nature of life.
As you know, Cain's worldview wins history. Cities, technology, civilization, empires, permanence triumphs. So why does the Torah keep whispering Abel's name? Why does it refuse to let him stay dead and silent? And why does King Solomon in the opening line of his final book choose one word and refuse to let it go? Not once, but nearly 40 times, echoed again and again across the 12 chapters of Kohelet. A very specific word, a word that already carries a name. Why this word and not another? Because the answer is far more intriguing than the questions, and it is found in the hidden and secret teachings of Sha'arei Gilgulim.
Sha'arei Gilgulim, authored by the Jewish mystic Yitzchak Luria, explains how souls return to complete unfinished work as tikkun, or spiritual repair. In it is written, "Behold, Hevel returned and reincarnated again in King Solomon, peace be upon him. And therefore he said, Vapor of vapors, said Kohelet, Hevel Hevalim, for he himself was Hevel." So are we seeing the parallels? There are many parallels. The most obvious is being a builder. Cain is the Torah's first builder on the world stage, and Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, is known to be the architect and the builder behind God's house here on earth, so to speak. God's holy temple, the Beit HaMikdash. He's known to be the builder. And not only are they both builders, but they come from similar family backgrounds. Adam and Eve, they get tossed out of the garden. David and Bathsheba have their portfolio of sins, and comes the successor to correct that. In the fallen world, in the post-sin world, two builders emerge. One decides to build civilization without God, that's Cain, and the other decides to build civilization or build these structures and be the greatest builder of Israel, but in dedication, in honor, in alignment with the Holy One, blessed be He. So in a way, Solomon is the one correcting the sin of Cain, but the only way he can correct the sin of Cain is to weave together Abel's vision, Abel's worldview of impermanency, spirit, ruach, that God is the cosmic animator behind all creation, together, this light that Abel has and the vessel that Cain has, to bring them together so that the vessel of civilization houses the light and awareness of God. And when you can do that, then there is rectification, there is tikkun. The one thing that Solomon says at the end of his life, in the book of Ecclesiastes, the first verse, the opening verse of Ecclesiastes is, he says, I am Kohelet, I am a preacher, son of David, who is a king of Israel. He introduces himself as Solomon, but I am now going to be speaking to you through a different voice. Unlike the voice where I spoke through the book of Proverbs and Shir HaShirim, the Song of Songs, now I'm coming to you and I'm preaching. Hear my word. All is Hevel. What does it mean, all is Hevel? It's a double meaning. On the base level of understanding, it means meaninglessness, vapor. These are traps of life. If you pursue these following things in the 12 chapters, they are traps. If it's done in excess, if you put your entire faith into it, you will be disappointed. You will find nothingness, meaninglessness at the end, unless you align with Hashem. The second meaning of Hevel is the hidden. It's Torah Nistar. It's the hidden, concealed revelation of Torah. The mystical view, if you will, that is saying, I am Abel. The preacher in this text is preaching as Abel coming back as Solomon. And I'm here to tell you that I, Abel, I have mastered the world of Cain. Everything Cain represents, wealth, beauty, abundance, power, all the mastery of civilization. I, Solomon, I've achieved it. You don't know how many wives and how much gold and how much success I've had in my life. I've mastered the world of Cain, and I'm coming back to tell you that it has some flaws. I'm coming to correct those flaws. I'm coming to say, unless you have an Abel approach to living in Cain's world, you'll never make it. If you live in Cain's world, with Cain's worldview that we can build civilization without God, it is all vapor in the end. There's nothing you take with you, nothing you gain. If anything, it'll bring you misery. And so therefore, I, the preacher, I, Kohelet, I, the one who is able in Solomon's voice, is coming to give you the good word.